welcome to Podcrashed, the podcast that can be a bit of a train wreck. You gotta, they got guests every week, and sometimes they're holding. Are you holding? I don't know. Are you holding? Even if they're not holding, they talk to them about life, liberty, and all things random. So I hope you enjoy the show. And oh God, where's my dealer?
Shut up, and sit down. Supposed to say sibilance? I always thought people are saying syphilis.
No, it's the
People you know are saying
sibilance. I want to say it means it's like it means something like it's.
I think it's just for the sounds. Onomatopoeia.
Mississippi.
Polypeptide.
The Human Torch could not get a bank
Sibilance
loan.
is an acoustic. What'd you say? What'd you say?
The Human Torch could not get a bank loan. It's from Anchorman. The Human Torch was denied a bank loan.
Sibilance is an acoustic characteristic of frictive and affricate consonants of higher amplitude and pitch. Yeah. So I'm just saying it's a word that refers, I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah. It's just what they say when they do mic checks. I don't think anyone uses it in a sentence.
Sibilance.
Sibilance.
Well, now you can.
It was very sibilant today.
I do not appreciate your
Yeah.
sibilance.
Oh, gee, look at that sibilance.
I've got the sibilance. Sounds more like a disease.
Yeah. It's incurable, doctor. Doctor says it's incurable. Mm-hmm. Did you know that the reason it was called the clap, which is what they used to call herpes? I think it's her. No.
Chlamydia? I don't know what.
Anyway, it's what is a term. You remember in the scene in
A League of Their Own.
A League of Their Own where he gets him to sign the baseball and it says avoid the clap, Jimmy Dugan, and the little kid doesn't know what it means. So they called it the clap because they would clap men's genitals to remove the pus.
Oh.
Yeah.
Some fun facts need to stay with you.
I never said fun. I just said, did you know? I never claim it's a fun fact. I just say it and people react how they react.
The weird things you know, Anna.
Right?
What is your brain like?
It remembers little bits of things, but not whole concepts.
Yeah. Quick, African geography, go.
I do know that they just had another Ebola outbreak in the Congo. So
Do you just follow diseases? Is that like your hobby?
I came across it on the news. And by the news, I probably mean BuzzFeed. Let's face it.
The newspapers.
The newspaper. The paper. As she calls it in Axe Murder. Mm-hmm. Pregnant man gives birth. It says so in the paper. The Weekly World News. Head, move now. Okay.
Well, hi.
Hi. How's it going?
Pretty good.
Good.
Yay.
I'm out of it today, just so you know.
Oh, okay.
So I already told Jean this story. So last night I worked at Epic, and we went and did Napoleon High School's senior bash or whatever, where they stay overnight, which apparently is a thing.
Oh, okay.
So
Like a lock-in?
yeah, like a lock-in. And so
With more drugs.
So we went there and we did the mobile escape rooms from midnight to 2 a.m.
Wow.
And it was just a bunch of 18-year-olds. And like I kept joking with Sheridan. She's like, what if I walk around in the... Because she had a backpack on. She carries a backpack. She's one of those people. And I was like...
Creepers.
She's like, what do you think they're going to think I'm a student? I'm like, just talk really optimistically about the future. Then they'll know you're definitely 18.
They're going to think she's a drug dealer.
Right? So anyway, so we did that. And then I stayed overnight at Sheridan's house in her son's twin bed. Her son was not in the bed. He was at his dad's house. But I stayed overnight at her house, and then we got up and we did a mobile breakout at 8 a.m. at Consumers today.
Wow.
So I'm running at 2 hours of sleep, so that's why I'm a little out of it.
Oh, okay.
So, just a heads up. Things might be funnier to me than they actually are. We'll see how it goes.
That's quite all right.
Uh-huh.
It'll be entertaining for everyone.
Yeah,
Just stop bringing up diseases. I think we'll be fine.
Did you know? No.
Go into another fact about the clap.
Al Capone, no, I don't know any more facts about the clap, but Al Capone had, speaking of, syphilis. See, you guys brought up the diseases first.
Everybody had syphilis.
He had
until,
syphilis.
like-
No, he had it so bad in prison that when they finally released him, his brain was like such turned to mush that he had like the mental capacity of like a 6-year-old kid. And he
That's
spent
right. It does
spent the
look-
rest of his days like fishing off the side of his apartment building. Like he was just.
Wrap it up, kids. Also, don't be a gangster.
But they also,
Yeah.
I
yeah.
guess.
But it was back in the day when they claimed that people found, like, they knew about it, they just didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
And so they just, like, got worse and worse. And it's like, thanks. Like, I'm not saying he was a good guy, but you should have at least told me he had a disease.
Well, I mean, it made him safer, I guess. They didn't have to worry about him getting back into organized crime.
That's true.
Yeah.
They didn't. He wasn't really a risk to anybody
Just give
after
him
the fact.
a pail of, like, trucks and blocks.
Yeah. When we were driving today, and Shane told me he made reference to how his mom once said about a woman that she thought she had a little bit of Downs. And she was like, you can't have a little bit of Downs. Either you have an extra chromosome or you don't. It's not like an autism spectrum, Mom. She's like, she's got a touch of the Downs. That's what she referred to it. A touch of the Downs. Oh.
That sounds like more like depression.
Oh, yeah, a touch of the Downs.
Touch of the
A
Downs.
touch of the Downs.
A little down in the dumps.
Yeah. Feeling blue today. Got a case of the mean reds. That also sounds like that's what she refers to depression as in Breakfast at Tiffany's, but it does sound like a disease.
It sounds like your period.
The mean reds, like a real aggressive period.
Yeah. Like the first couple of days when you're just angry at the world.
Yeah. Because you're bleeding from your south mouth. I heard that term the other day, and I'm just determined to use it as much as possible.
Your south mouth.
Your south mouth. Yeah. Yeah.
That is horrible.
You get dirty when you don't sleep.
Really, geez.
I'm just saying. Anyway.
What's our topic today?
What topic do you want to do first?
I don't know. I'm not in charge here. I'm the guest.
That's right.
I haven't been introduced in like 4 podcasts, but I'm still the guest.
Hi, Jeannie.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome, Jeannie.
Thank you.
We will introduce you.
A full 10 minutes in. Nice.
There, you're
Thank
introduced.
you.
Now
Thank
pick
you.
a topic.
April, what do you want to do? Did you do research for either of these? Are
Um,
you winging it?
I did, for marijuana, I did passive research. Where I let the research come to me.
Is that your way of saying you smoked weed?
No, I did not.
She sat down. She thought about it.
Yep. She contemplated.
Uh-huh.
But I know people around me that know a lot about it.
Okay.
And I talk to them about it.
Yeah.
So I know what they know.
I know what they know.
We'll go with marijuana.
Okay.
Marijuana.
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 Oh, but lucky for you.
Since an extra special guest is here, we might interview him. He's not paying attention.
Oh. You want to really ambush people. This should be a ambush podcast where you just show up and podcast from somewhere and
We're
don't
gonna
tell
crash
anybody.
your conversation and
Right.
just
Ambush.
dum dum.
Dunk dunk.
No, that would be stealing the Law and Order. We have to go dun dun.
Dun dun. Yeah, don't
go
copyright infringement.
Yeah.
I'm sure that sound is trademarked. Okay, so according to history.com, right, the cannabis or hemp plant originally evolved in Central Asia before people introduced the plant to Africa, Europe, and eventually the Americas. Hemp fiber was used to make clothing, paper, sails, and ropes, and its seeds were used as food. Because it's fast-growing, because it's a fast-growing plant that's easy to cultivate and has many uses, hemp was widely grown throughout colonial America and at Spanish missions in the Southwest. In the early 1600s, Virginia, Massachusetts, and Connecticut colonies required farmers to grow hemp, so they required them to do it.
Wow.
It's very useful, the
Yes.
hemp plant.
It says in 1830, Sir William Brooke O'Shaughnessy, an Irish doctor studying in India, found that cannabis extract could help lessen stomach pain and vomiting in people suffering from cholera. So this is when it starts to kind of show up as a medicine. In the late 1800s, cannabis extracts were sold at pharmacies and in doctors' offices throughout Europe and the United States to treat stomach problems and other ailments. Scientists later discovered that THC was the source of marijuana's medical properties. As the psychoactive compound responsible for marijuana's mind-altering effects...
THC.
Okay, sorry. THC also interacts with areas of the brain that are able to lessen nausea and promote hunger. So that's why you get the munchies. In fact, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has approved 2 drugs with THC that are prescribed in pill form.
Really?
Marinol and Syndrose to treat nausea caused by cancer chemotherapy and loss of appetite in AIDS patients.
There's about 78 chemical compounds in the cannabis plant.
Apparently they've upped that.
Have they?
I've heard from another source who's over there. There's like 120 or something like that.
fancy.
Over 120 different.
Well, I know
What
one
do they
of
call
the
them,
main
cannabinoids?
Yeah,
or
one of the
just-
main issues with cannabis is that it's still federally a Schedule 1 drug, so it's limited on the amount of research you can actually do on it and like the possession of it by research facilities and stuff. So there's not a whole lot. Like we're just catching up to what we know about like alcohol or tobacco or something that's been freely used.
Right.
That's it. You're just staring at me like there was more. And that's it. That's all.
Well, because this article, the history article, it has the kind of basic history of it, and then it breaks it down to recreational weed, marijuana tax act, and marijuana legalization. So if you want to do, so for instance, recreational weed. It says an ancient Greek historian named Herodotus describes it as a large group. Okay, described the. Sorry, I really should have read this before I. So he wrote about a group of people, Iranian nomads in Central Asia, inhaling the smoke from the smoldering cannabis seeds and flowers to get high. So there's reference to ancient Greek era of people using marijuana to get high.
Yeah, the earliest known consumption for medical and not food purposes for marijuana I found was China in 2737 BC.
Wow.
Yeah, so it very early in China. They used to eat the seeds for nutrition, but then that's the earliest I found for medical use. I don't know about recreational use.
Right. It says hashish, the purified form of cannabis smoke with a pipe, was widely used throughout the Middle East and parts of Asia after the 800 AD. Its rise in popularity corresponds with the spread of Islam in the region. The Quran forbids the use of alcohol and some other intoxicating substances, but did not specifically prohibit cannabis.
During
those slippery.
Yeah, the temperance movement in the 1800s, they recommend it using cannabis as opposed to get to not drink as an alternative.
Well, you consider the fact that it's a substance that it's a plant that grows and you don't really have to do anything to it.
Yeah, it just grows on
Whereas
its own. There's not a lot of
alcohol you have to
cultivation.
make
It's a process.
Distill
so
and
it's
make.
more of a natural substance in that effect. So I can see why people would think, oh well, it's a natural thing, comes out of the ground. In the United States, marijuana wasn't widely used for recreational purposes until the early 1900s. Mexicans that immigrated to the United States during the tumultuous years of the Mexican Revolution introduced the recreational practice of smoking marijuana to American culture. Donald Trump was right.
Dirty Mexicans.
Massive unemployment and social unrest during the Great Depression stoked resentment of Mexican immigrants and public fear of the evil weed. Ooh. As a result, and consistent with the Prohibition era view of the intoxicants, 29 states outlawed cannabis by 1931. So much again like how Prohibition did it, where they associated it with evil acts and bad things happening. Is how, and we still to this day associate it, like people try to associate it with like
a gateway drug.
Yeah, a negative, like you smoke pot and then suddenly you become a heroin addict. Even though we know that taking prescribed opioids by doctors is what turns people into heroin addicts.
One of the things that helped the rise of cannabis, particularly in the medical field in the early 1900s, was the outlaw of opium. When they started to realize that opium's probably pretty bad for you.
Right.
They started replacing that with cannabis and cannabinoids. Hold on, I had a quote that was funny. Hold on.
Well, like one of the things about why people thought that marijuana is a gateway drug is because the dealers that some people would go to, they're usually not just pot dealers.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, well, I'm out of marijuana. I imagine
you don't make a lot of money just selling marijuana.
Yeah, I'm out of pot right now, but I have this other thing that's even better.
Called crystal meth.
Well, I know they're having issues in Colorado right now where they still have a very large black market, regardless of whether or not it's legalized there.
Yeah.
There are actual shops you can go in and just, purchase. But people still want to go with their dealers because they trust them more than they trust the shop. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the tax isn't there because it's like 23% tax or something in Colorado right now.
Well, there's also issues with people creating synthetic strains.
Yeah, in places where it's not illegal, and a lot of those are worse for you.
Yeah, and it's the idea that
stuff like that.
Yeah, that like what you're not taking into your body what you think you are because people are tampering with it, which they do with other drugs too.
I could only find 3 instances of people who have died. And their death certificates say via marijuana usage.
Really?
And all 3 have had previous heart conditions that it messed with, and that's why. But you would have to, where is it? Yeah, you would have to smoke, I had it written down. Yeah, 15 ounces in 15 minutes.
Oh my God.
In order for you to actually OD on weed at its current levels.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot to smoke.
Yeah, you would literally have to just be hotboxed until your oxygen was gone, essentially.
Yeah. And I venture to say that would probably happen with any sort of hotboxing, like regardless of what the smoke was.
No, I was going to go back to, the Marijuana Act of 1937, which is when it was first outlawed, is on the books, and the quote on the books is, "It causes men of color to become violent and sexually solicit white women."
Oh yeah,
that is why it was initially.
It's definitely again. It's going back to it's associated. It's because of its association, with Mexican immigration or with the black population. It's people associated it with like deviance and like another reason that a lot of things that are common in certain demographics are seen as worse than other things.
Well, it's a very inexpensive drug to produce.
Yeah.
You just grow and grow and grow it.
Yeah. Like it is. That's why they call it weed. It grows pretty much anywhere. You don't have to really do anything to it. That act was actually ruled unconstitutional a couple years later. So that the Marijuana Act of 1937 actually doesn't exist. And there's no real rules on it until the 70s when they listed it as a Schedule I drug, which was supposed to be temporary. It was under the Nixon administration, and he just never got around to
because he was doing
any research to reschedule it. Because
Nixon, who by the way appointed Elvis as he gave him an official title for the DEA, right? He had him as a drug enforcement officer. The man who died in the bathroom of a drug overdose was the one policing. He's the one. Elvis showed up, and we're talking fat Elvis at this point. Yeah, on all kinds of medicine. Overweight, just not having a good time. On his second or third wife. And he shows up to the White House with a shotgun to give to the president. And the president's like, "Come on in, Elvis." And then gives him like a sheriff's badge. and is like, if you see drug use, you got to stop it. And I'm like, what, by taking all the drugs that he sees?
Take them and snort them himself.
Well, if we learned anything this week, is that if you're a celebrity, you can just walk into the White House and get stuff done.
Apparently.
Who did that?
Kim Kardashian.
Really?
Oh,
How did I
yeah.
miss that?
She just tweeted, "I'm going to the White House," and then later the president tweeted,
Well, yeah, 'cause-
Kim was at the White House and we decided to do this.
Because her
super.
husband's a big fan of his,
Oh yeah,
and
Like
much to his
Kanye.
career.
the only black man that Donald Trump probably knows.
Yep.
Ugh,
He's got Kanye West. He's got Omarosa. So now
She
he's got
doesn't count.
he's
She's not
got
a real
his quote
person.
unquote black. So he's fine.
He's got his friends.
Yeah.
If Omarosa burst open and like a lizard demon crawled out, I wouldn't even be surprised.
Nope. Wouldn't be surprised at all.
I would just be like, meh, okay, cool.
But that was before Nixon, and then of course the big anti-drug advocate was Reagan.
Yeah.
And Nancy Reagan in particular, who was the Just Say No campaign, which obviously was any drug, but they really went hard on marijuana.
Yeah, which actually did the exact opposite of what they wanted to do.
Yeah. Which is
drug
like
levels
it's
actually went up when the program was
it's like
introduced.
if anything, it's like you're president in the 80s with the crack epidemic. Focus your time on that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's doing way more worse than marijuana ever did.
Just like probably prohibition. I would imagine that alcohol consumption
alcohol
actually like went up after
Oh yeah,
prohibition.
yeah,
and it got
beca-
more dangerous.
And again, dangerous because people would be bootlegging and they'd create alcohol out of all kinds of shit that would turn people blind and like make them sick and kill them.
Though we got NASCAR out of it.
Oh, goody.
Apparently that's like how NASCAR was created, from bootleggers running from the cops.
Right? And they're like, this is really fun to watch people drive fast in a circle.
Trying to escape the cops.
If only we could drink beer while we did it. Wait a minute.
I'd watch NASCAR now if it was just cops chasing the drivers
Chasing
around
someone,
in a
yeah.
circle.
Have a chase
At least give
aspect.
you
when
incentive to go
when
fast.
they get caught, they open the trunk and then you discover what they're smuggling. I think that'd be cool. You could
It's
take back bets on that.
Yeah.
I think it's a
Dirty NASCAR. Think we have a new sport.
But then prohibition only lasted a handful of years, and they realized
Yeah.
it's not the reason for the problems. You know what I mean? Like the way they thought it was, or how they tried to portray it.
Yeah, it was a big movement. Temperance was a big movement in the 1800s, and then that kind of waned with the world wars.
Yeah, because people
they're
are like,
like,
life's fucking hard. If
let's
we want to drink, yeah.
And then it came back, and then like within, it was like only lasted like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
didn't it?
yeah.
People were
And then they were,
like,
yeah.
But,
So, okay, some more on the effects of marijuana's effects. Okay, both mental and physical are partly responsible for its checkered legal status. Short-term effects can include euphoria or other mood changes, heightened sensory perception, and increased appetite. While many people experience a pleasure high feeling after using marijuana, others may experience anxiety, fear, or panic. Negative effects may be more common when a person uses too much marijuana or cannabis is unexpectedly potent. Bless you.
Thank you.
Is that someone letting air out of their tires? No, it's April sneezing. The amount of THC in marijuana, the chemical responsible for the drug's potency, has increased dramatically in the recent decades. In the mid-90s, the average THC content of confiscated weed was roughly 4%. By 2014, hold on. The amount of THC in marijuana, by 2014, it was about 12%. So it jumped in 24 years from 4% to 12%, with few strains of pot containing THC levels as high as 37%.
yeah, that comes from a lot of the crossbreeding and stuff. They're specifically breeding.
Because people are getting fucking hydroponic and shit with that, like how people
it's a
crossbreed
whole-
flowers and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole horticultural industry.
Yeah. That's why I was like, when they see hydroponic stores and they can't outright say, oh, this is for growing your weed.
Yeah,
So they're
it's
like,
all...
it's for growing plants. And you're like, it's for
If
growing
you ever
weed.
go to like a convention or something in some place where it's not legal, it's all tomato plants.
Yeah.
Because they grow a lot like weed does, and they sort of vaguely look like them at the small stages. So if you ever go, it's all tomato plants.
Which is why like there's like medical growing places that call themselves like Big Tomato
Yeah,
or
like the big green tomato or something.
yeah,
like
it's
that.
like wink wink nudge nudge. It's
Yeah.
not real tomatoes. It's green, but it ain't tomatoes.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I did want to add that THC binds to nerve receptors that dull pain. That's why they use it for
Yeah.
various things. It also blocks enzymes that aid to the cause of Alzheimer's, which is a hardening of the brain. So they've done some studies that show
the
that
CBD oil or
Yeah.
the extract from it. Yeah.
Not that
so much
show that
the-
it slows that. It's the same thing that helps with seizures and stuff. It's the same enzyme.
Yeah, which I think is fucking great that they can just extract that and like put it in a drop.
Yeah,
And then you just like put a drop in your drink and it
there
like...
are whole versions of cannabinoid oils and stuff that don't have any THC that will not get you high, but will still help with medical
Help
conditions.
a lot, yeah.
Still technically outlawed,
Right.
even though there's no.
It's like a
effects
lot
of
of
that.
things. It's old fashioned stigma that people just can't get over.
Yeah.
That like thinks this horrible thing about it when you're like, no, it's a really amazing drug.
Yeah.
Especially considering us as a society are so we're all like everybody's on something.
Yeah. We put a lot of drugs in our system.
Anytime you go to your doctor for anything, you leave with a prescription, whether it's just a higher dosage of aspirin or, you know what I mean? And like this huge issue we're having with people becoming pain pill, dependent and then switching to harder, cheaper drugs like heroin because it costs less than prescription drugs.
In a lot of the states, in a lot of the states that it's used for medical, and the first thing that they use it for medical is heroin withdrawal. That's how it got in.
It's used to get people
that,
off
or
drugs.
like people who have long-term like AIDS side effects or like cancer, like serious illness. That's where it initially went in for, and then they realized that okay, well this also is good for seizures, and this is good for depression or anxiety or whatever.
Right.
But there are actually only 4 states in the whole of the U.S. that don't have any access to marijuana, that are just completely outlawed.
Do you know
Everybody
them?
else,
4?
4.
Are they in the South?
Actually, no. They're in the a couple of them are in the breadbasket. It's Idaho, South Dakota, Nebraska, and Kansas.
It's because only like 5 people live in those places.
South Dakota has medical on the ballot this year, but the other 3 don't have anything.
Wow.
But
At least they're. I mean, it's slowly getting there. As I think,
It's definitely been a huge turnaround in the last decade or so with people's views on it, and
well, there are currently 9 states that have it recreational use. And then 29 more that have medical use.
Yeah, including
and then,
Michigan.
17 that have just use for cannabinoid oil or non-THC presenting cannabis byproducts.
I think if we let people walk around vaping, we should let people walk around smoking weed. I'm just saying, like, it can't be more annoying than people vaping.
It smells like shit, though.
Yeah, one of the big problems with it is
that is true. It does kind of stank.
Horrible. Like, I mean, like, yeah, like low quality kind of stuff smells like a skunk.
Yeah. It was.
It smells horrible. But then, like, higher quality can smell more like herbs.
That's true.
Yeah, you can crossbreed it and it'll smell like citrusy or minty or
right.
There's various strains.
Well, then when we used to allow smoking more public places, it forced people to have to pump in outside air to like circulate because there was so much smoke. So I'm like, well, why don't they just do that now? It's a good excuse to like get more air in places.
You have to have a really like a
ventilated
good exhaust ventilation system.
Yeah,
I've known people that have grown and literally had to shut down operations in order to like install a better exhaust system because it smells so bad.
Yeah.
So it can get pretty stinky. But there's a lot of plants that we cultivate that smell horrible when they grow. So.
Right.
Yeah, true. Some of the trees around town, oh my god.
Yeah.
They look gorgeous, like little white flowers and stuff.
Yeah.
They smell
and they
like
just stank like a garbage can.
They smell like stanky feet.
Stanky feet.
Stanky
That's a stanky feet tree.
You want some fun facts?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So in 2017, the cannabis industry was $9.7 billion.
Jeez.
Nice.
That it just includes the recreational states. It doesn't include any of the medical ones because they don't tax that. So that's just taxes made
Right.
Wow.
on the recreational states.
See, what are they?
They're making money off it. That's what boggles my mind. It's like usually in America, the land of the money. You know what I mean? If you can make money off something, they will find a way to get it.
Right.
Which, I mean, it's kind of gotten that. It's surprising that it's taken so long to get
Right.
like that. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, one of the main arguments against it by people that are pro-cannabis but are against the legalization for recreational use is the fact that it will create a cannabis lobby. And essentially that will, dull the product, cost more money. It'll become, essentially, you have a lobby for something. You just have a bunch of assholes.
That's
what
true.
it creates. But they have shown that even since recreational and medical use have been okay in the last decade or so, Mexican drug cartel input has been down like 70%.
There's the thing though, Uncle Rich was just telling me about this the other day, where the drug cartels, they're not shipping marijuana in
they're
to the
shipping
United
it
States as
to
much.
Mexico.
Yeah, well, they're growing it in. They'll like buy little houses in the United States and grow it in the houses, and then just distribute it from there. So they're saving a lot of trouble, not busting it in.
Yeah.
They're trying to sneak it in and stuff. They're just growing it here.
Well, and that's the thing is that and obviously it's a drug cartel, so there's always violence, but that's the predominant amount. The violence comes in to play with the sneaking and the shipping and the you know what I mean? Like
the two things that you do as a drug cartel are essentially intimidation and like the illegal side and like, smuggling. And if you legalize it, you can't smuggle it
if it's just
anymore.
them growing it locally and selling it locally and making money legally, then it's
you can't intimidate an entire court system. So that's helped. A lot of people that want it legalized and regulated by the state as opposed to the federal government. Yeah. Like you do with alcohol, like how they have like Sunday laws and that type of thing.
Well, that's the big issue. I mean, it seems a couple years ago, I imagine it still happens, but you'd have states say, okay, it's fine if you open up medical marijuana, but then federal services would come in and shut them down, even though the state said it's fine. Because that was a huge hubbub with California.
Yeah. The Cole report, the one that Obama signed.
Because he's signing it.
That Pence just said that he is retracting it.
Because do you mean the man who refuses to be in the presence of a woman when his wife's not there? Yeah. I'm like, what kind of thing do you not trust yourself with?
It's essentially
maybe it's her rule. Maybe it's not his.
Oh, I'd believe it.
It's probably not going to affect anybody. Really, that he's retracting this because they still can't technically prosecute states at a federal level for doing this. So if you get arrested, if you have a dispensary in California and you get federally arrested, the state has the decision whether or not to prosecute you.
Yeah, but they can seize all your shit is the thing.
Yeah, but they can arrest you and they can seize all of your things.
Yeah, which means that suddenly now you have all of your stuff taken and you have to start from the bottom, ground up again, even if the state's like, yeah, it's fine.
And then the federal government just has all of your
and again, they make money, you know what I mean? Like they seize all this. What do they do with it? I don't know.
They have their own dirty black government conspiracy.
Yeah, he has taken a lot of crap from other Republicans. The Currently 51% of Republicans support some sort of legalization. Yeah. Which is higher than it's ever been, particularly with the Republican Party.
Well, I mean, older dudes getting older and older, they have joint pain and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like most of them are like
their
probably
constituents
sick
are like, we don't care right now. Just make it legal.
Well, if they make it legal that when their kids and grandkids get busted with it by the police officer, they don't have to pay them. You know what I mean?
Well, states where it is legal, the lowest amount I found for legal possession is a 1 ounce, which is if you think of like a really thick bar of soap, that's about 1 ounce if you compact it all together. Oh. So that's a lot of weed.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Like, it can go up to, I think it was 4 ounces was the highest I found that you could possess, and like 6 plants, which like, so there's a variety of weighing of how much you can possess or not, but and then currently, 6 states have had or have it coming up on their June or November ballots for recreational use. Vermont legalized in January. It was going to be on their ballot, but then the governor was just like, you know what, we'll just legalize it. It's fine. That enacts July, I think, is when that enacts.
Smart guy.
And then another 1, 2, 3,
That's
4,
a
5.
Bernie state. So
and then another 5 have it on for medical use. Kentucky, Missouri, Oklahoma, Utah all have cannabinoid oil laws right now and want to go to medical, and then South Dakota doesn't have it's completely legal and they want to go to medical. Yeah. Currently.
South Dakota, it is legal, but they want to just
South Dakota is completely illegal. It's one of the 4 states where it's completely illegal. That would only leave 3 states where and then Canada recently announced that they're legalizing, which I want to say is August is their date.
I would think they would have legalized way before us.
They were one of the first Western at least on our radar, that had medical marijuana. I think
Yeah.
it was like the late
Well, they have that socialized
1990s,
medicine
I
too,
think.
so I imagine it didn't take much to go in and be
Yeah,
like, "Can I get some weed?" And
they have
"Sure."
always had really lax laws on it. Essentially, as long as you're not, in public trying to sell it to minors, you're fine.
Sell it to
Yeah,
kids
yeah,
and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, because it was like decriminalized so much for possession for years and years.
Yeah.
Which a lot of not just states but cities have decriminalized possession.
Yeah.
So like Ann Arbor, for example, it's still technically illegal, but you can have up to it's like 3 ounces on you before it's like a $20 fine. So it's essentially decriminalized.
Yeah. But if they catch you selling it.
But if they catch you selling it, then that's an illegal act.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So have either of you heard if they're like actually releasing prisoners that like people in jail that have had like
that's
marijuana
the big
crimes?
thing, is that if you legalize it in a state where it's been illegal, like what do you do with those people that gray
Currently
area
in-
that are currently in jail for it? Can you just like release them? Do you then have to like take care of them because they've been in jail for
I would imagine
5 years
if
for this?
they passed a thing where it's like, okay, we'll release you, even if they aren't like, but we won't.
Well, that opens them up for like lawsuits.
Yeah, I was
and
gonna say
things,
they'll get
too.
sued like because if they're just like, okay, we'll just release you, but they don't give them any sort of like payment back for like the time they spent or like set them up in a way, because like even if they release them and even if they clear their record of any drug charges, that's still that stigma of they were in jail is going to affect them
Yeah,
getting
you would
jobs.
have to have a governmental pardon
Yeah, and
for all of these people.
and you'd have to enforce the hell out of it so that you'd still make sure that places were hiring people who had been pardoned and not using their own.
Well, since it's
views
illegal on a
to-
federal level, then your company, regardless of what state it's located in, can still say,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's a drug on a federal level. Therefore, if it's in your system, you're not
Yeah.
hireable." Or
Oh, there's tons of shit that companies can get away with saying why they don't want to hire people. It's ridiculous. But yeah, it's like you're now suddenly. I mean, I would say, especially considering our prison system's making so much money, you know what I mean, profit prison system,
Yeah.
that the least they could do would be like, we'll let you out, plus we'll pay you so much severance for all this time you spent in jail for a drug charge or whatever. And then if you have someone who's in there for multiple counts, you know what I mean, because they were whatever, or like the third strikers who were like, they did their time, got out, and then were caught with weed once, or you know what I mean,
yeah.
like that kind of thing.
Okay, I'm gonna throw some numbers at you while you're talking about prisons.
Okay.
Okay. So, for example, Wisconsin, in 2010 spent $44 million prosecuting, not even like in the prison system, weed related and cannabis related crimes.
It costs so much money to put someone through a trial and like all that crap. Like,
Okay, so when Colorado legalized, they had an influx of cash. So between January and April of this year, just January to April, they've made $86 million in tax revenue on legalized weed.
they could give some of that money to the people that were in jail for previously.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say like part of the thing was like you let them out, and then if they want to, set them up in their own dispensary shop.
Right? But like, not only are we
You
not
can grow everything.
Yeah.
Here you go. Here's
hope
a
you
business based on what you're good at.
I hope this hasn't soured your opinion of weed, because we totally want you to keep doing it.
Right, set them up in the industry.
Got a whole notebook here.
I do have a whole notebook. I'm like, what is relevant that hasn't been talked about? All right. So a lot of people, like, one of the main arguments against it is essentially old people who are like, oh, it's addictive or it's a gateway drug.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the information I found about its addictive properties. Approximately 9%. This is the high end of the spectrum, because I think it was 3% to 9%. Like I said, we're just starting to catch up on all of the research on it.
Yeah.
Approximately 9% addiction level. That's compared to about 25% for like heroin or like cocaine. But they consider addiction level is if you stop smoking, you can get a headache, light depression, or nausea for approximately 48 hours.
And that's considered an addiction.
Addiction level.
Have they tested if you're depressed before smoking marijuana?
No, see, that's the thing. There's no like
No control
smoke
group.
no control group on
You're
that.
depressed, you smoke it, you feel better, and then after it wears off, you're back to feeling depressed.
right.
Well, caffeine has
There we go.
Yeah.
like a worse. Caffeine is about 15% addiction.
If you have more than one pop a day,
Yeah, you're
technically a
addicted
caffeine
to-
addict.
Which if you've ever stopped like caffeine cold turkey, you do get a headache.
Ooh,
Yeah.
it's bad.
Yeah, you get kind of angry for roughly like 24 hours, 48 hours.
Yeah. And
I've definitely had that.
well, especially you said they're using marijuana to people who are having hardcore drug withdrawals.
Yeah, they use that because it sort of numbs pain receptors to a lot of things.
So when your body's withdrawing from...
And it takes care of the enzymes that like, it helps with like seizures and that type of thing and nausea and all the stuff that's related to withdrawal.
Yeah.
It helps with.
So it's like, how can it be an addictive drug if it's used to help people get off of drugs?
I think people might like primarily just think of people like smoking a big like blunt in public, and there's a lot of different ways you can incorporate.
Oh yeah, you don't have to smoke it at all.
Yeah, you can take pills. There's oils. There's topicals.
You can put it in
edibles,
food. Yeah,
like, yeah. It's really.
I'm a fan of anything I can put in a brownie and eat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll eat a baby if it's in a brownie.
Right?
No shame.
That's why I think
Eat a baby.
a baby and a brownie. Providing the baby had good medical properties for your health.
And according to a 2017 study, about 52% of people under the 25 have tried it or use it regularly. That jumps up to about 63 once you hit 30. So there's a good chunk of people apparently in their late 20s who are like, nah.
Yeah.
The cannabis plant that has THC in it is different than the hemp plant. It's the same species.
Yeah.
The hemp plant's characteristics is it doesn't have THC. You can smoke it, but nothing happens. But it's used for papers and cloth, and before it was illegal in the States, pretty much everything was made out of hemp fiber.
Yeah.
The Constitution was made out of hemp fiber.
Right.
The sails on the Mayflower, the first flag, like it's
'cause
incredibly
it's
useful
real
as a
easy to
fiber.
grow. Mm-hmm.
But since it's related to the plant that does get you high, it is illegal.
Of course.
Yeah.
Because
fucking
people
stupid.
be dumb.
So fucking stupid.
Yeah, the actual hemp fiber has sort of been, they've ignored that side of the law for a really long time. So you can buy like hemp rope and stuff exists, but it's heavily regulated and that type of thing. And it tends to cost a lot more money, even though it's easier to
smoke the
produce.
rope?
And again, not going to get high off of it.
No.
So
People are dumb.
so dumb. So dumb. So dumb.
It's legal in out of the U.S. It's legal in a lot of countries.
Yeah.
At least the ones that have like decent governments. In India, for example, it's legal but only to cook with.
Cook?
Yep. Apparently, there's a lot of like old school Indian recipes that involve like hemp seeds or the plant itself,
Or the oil
or the
or
greens,
something.
or the flowers.
What does hemp do for you? Does it kind of do the? Is more just like the
Hemp
CBD kind of, or just like
The hemp part is really doesn't have any THC in it, and if
Does it have a flavor? Is that what they use it? Like,
I've never tried any of these recipes. I don't know.
I'm just curious to why they would use that particular.
You can cook down to get the oil, but you can also burn off the oil, and then it doesn't have any.
Maybe
properties
that's
at all.
why. Maybe it doesn't leave a taste, and that's why they like it.
Well,
I imagine like maybe it's also like because
it's just protein.
the only reason like we use like olive oil is because olives grew. You know what I mean? Like that's the reason they use the oil from it. So maybe it's just easiest to grow. They discover that they can use it, so it's there, so they use it.
Yeah, the same people that like cook with like greens from the side of the road and stuff. I mean, it's just it's there. If it was legalized in all 50 states, it would the tax revenue would be higher than the entire organic food market is currently.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a.
We would also be the chillest nation in the world.
Oh God.
About
It should be like a requirement for
mandatory kind
mandatory
of.
for everyone in the government.
They
to
should
smoke
just
it.
replace the fluoride in our water
We'll
system.
get
with
a real nice happy environment.
Right.
Yep.
Do it
Just
like
hot
a circle.
back.
Why do you think
Hotbox
fucking
the-
Canada's so chill?
Yeah.
They've been using it medically for years. They probably just like, hey, just go to your doctor.
Hotbox Congress. Just kind of pump, even if they're not smoking it, just pump it in.
Yeah.
In 2015, there was a study about 3.8% of the world's population uses marijuana regularly. You jump up, that's about 10% in the U.S. And that's within the last week, sort of. That's what they consider regularly.
Okay.
Chinese. It was used heavily in the U.S. Until about 1942 for medical purposes before they said no more.
Right.
So a lot of, if you find any like the old like medical containers, whatever, you can find the ones that say like heroin. If you pretty much between 1850 and 1842, a lot of them will say something related to cannabis or hemp on there. Paraguay is currently the largest producer of marijuana.
Oh,
Really?
Paraguay. I knew they were needed for something.
I couldn't find any
I'm sure there's
information
great
on whether
things
or
for
not that was like within Paraguay they just smoked a lot, or if they export it. But
It's like you hit the border and it's just like a fog. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh boy.
Tupac,
Yes.
when he died, he had his ashes mixed with marijuana, and then his posse
Smoked it.
smoked it,
Yeah, I remember hearing that.
which must have tasted horrible.
Yeah, I can't imagine smoking ashes would be
But-
very.
To each their own.
I should
There's definitely like a horror.
be like putting.
horror story in there where they
Soot.
each like then like get a piece of him that's like haunting them or something.
He's haunting it through the weed smoke.
Yeah.
There's a Snoop Dogg movie in there somewhere.
Yeah. Less teens, people under 21, that's what they consider teens, use in legal states than do illegal states. So if you have legal, like Colorado, for example, legalized, less teens there say that they smoke than teens in, Ohio, where
Yeah.
it's illegal.
Well, it's because they walk around the streets and they see like they're they see like everybody doing it. And it's like, oh, God, everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
Well, things like that always remind me of the one song from, is it The Incredibles? I think it's like, why did the kids put jam on the cat, raspberry jam all over the cat, simply because we said no. So, like as soon as you tell someone no,
Yeah.
it's like, oh no, I'm gonna do that because
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
not
yeah.
gonna allow me to.
For a
As
second,
soon as
I
you're
was
like,
thinking,
yeah,
of,
sure,
I was
go
thinking
ahead.
of the Incredibles, the
Oh,
superhero one.
the serial.
I was like, huh?
Oh, the play.
The play, yeah.
Well, just like what's that one country that they like pretty much all drugs are legalized, but they have no problems with them.
A lot of Scandinavian
Yeah.
countries, like Sweden and stuff, like there's really low crime rates because a lot of quote unquote criminal activities aren't.
Yeah. Well, they do. Like I know Denmark, for instance, has certain areas of the town
Yes.
where it's legal to do whatever. Like they'll have a building downtown. They'll have like vending machines for like clean needles and stuff like that. And they're like, as long as you're here, and they do have people down there like, hey, if you need help,
Yeah,
like we can get you help.
it's not
But
immediately
But
criminalized.
you can't be arrested down there because
Yeah.
you're doing any kind of drug.
Yeah.
And then Amsterdam has a thriving tourist.
Oh yeah, people go.
Like
come
no
from
one's
around
going
the
there
world.
for the art.
Nope. They go because they can go to any cafe they want and get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get whatever drug they want. See, like,
There's also a red light district, yet there's less sex crimes. So
Yeah. So like, really, I mean, who's the smarter ones? It's like, yeah, you'd probably have maybe a few more people ODing from it or something like that. But I mean, if it's legal, there's no like rebelliousness against it, because I feel like a lot of people do it or start doing it to be rebellious or to try it.
Yeah,
stuff
because
that,
it's like
and then-
naughty, and my parents want me to do this.
Well, it's like
and
I mean, like
same reason you drink wine coolers.
Yeah, I was
when
gonna
you're
say, the
18.
amount
no
of,
one
like-
wants that.
the amount of issues we have with alcohol and people abusing alcohol and drinking too much and dying from drunk driving or from poisoning and things like that. It's like, if that's still legal, I mean, obviously you have to be above a certain age to imbibe, even though that doesn't really work.
doesn't work.
Like if that's still something that we're like fine with, and the effects of that are 10 times worse than something like weed, it's just like, why can we have this one thing? It'd be like if we made crack legal, but yet nothing, and you're just like, what? Why would we do that? And that's like way worse for us than this other thing, which is proven to help people. I don't understand.
the positives of
And again, if they can make money,
marijuana.
if any other reason, bureaucrats, and so you can make money.
money. Trump would be on that. You think he'd be on that?
Okay, you figure that he should have.
I would have
found
thought
a
that'd
way
be
to-
the first thing that he would have done getting in office.
He's like, I make money off that.
Make money.
I didn't write it down, but I had some statistic that I saw that in states where Trump got the vote, the majority of the people also wanted legalized marijuana. Like it was roughly the same. I don't think there was a correlation, but it was roughly the percentage, the same percentage of the people that voted.
That's interesting.
And I was like, well, would explain why they voted that way, I guess.
It's also hilarious because a lot of those places, they have people who vote for the administration that's very anti-government assistance, yet they're people predominantly on government assistance.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I'm getting welfare or food stamps, but I don't think the government should be telling me what to do. Well, they're giving you money, though.
Yeah.
So why don't, Anyway.
Yeah. That I went
Like your parents, if you're getting money from your parents, they're gonna hold that over your head and try and tell you what to do.
Well, we've crossed the midline. About 64% of Americans on total
Yeah.
want the recreational use legalized. That's
Catch up.
It's just getting higher the more the longer.
No pun
it goes.
intended.
Yeah.
Higher. Oh. Do you think it was Colorado was specifically like, are they just more progressive, or is it because they could play with the whole pun of their altitude being high? It's like Rocky Mountain High and like
that would have been like really,
Denver being like really high in altitude, and they're
really
like,
into the
hi,
advertising,
marijuana.
and I don't.
I think they were like, we're gonna do it, but we're not gonna like make a big deal out of it because we're like super chill.
When they first legalized, they did get sued by the federal government, but that was thrown out. And they were like, "No, you can't tell a
if you're
state that
if you came and
we've
were
been
like
through this."
if you came and you were like, you're getting sued by the dude down the street or by the federal government, I'd be less afraid of the federal government because I'm like they'd forget to put their paperwork in, or they get distracted by something, and I'd slip through the cracks because that seems to happen all the time.
Yeah, they only work like 7 days a year.
Yeah, and they're always and then Congress starts to not go to work because they don't get along with each other, and then you're just like, well,
yeah,
now I can't go to museums or national monuments. Thanks a lot.
They literally have, I don't forget what it's called, but it's like a shillelagh. It's like a small staff that people in Congress use to vote on people who aren't theirs, like computer for the voting.
Yeah.
So, and you can like watch a video of people just like going over and like pressing buttons for seats that they don't, and apparently that's just cool with everybody.
You know what? It's funny. Like, that's ridiculous that it's so childish and dumb and like unnecessary. And you think, how come no one's calling this? But a lot of countries, like their equivalent of parliament or senate, behaves like ridiculous children.
Yeah, get into like fist fights and stuff.
Like I want to say, is it the Taiwanese government? Yeah, they're like they will attack each other. They will throw chairs like a wrestling match. They had one footage of they'll have like Russian parliament and stuff, and they'll like they had one. It was a guy, and he threw a homemade pipe bomb. One of the people in the parliament.
Oh my God.
Because he wanted to distract because they were voting on something he didn't want to go. So he literally chucked a pipe bomb, and everyone started leaving so they couldn't. And it's just like, you're adults, people who are supposed to be making rules that affect millions of people. And this is how we're doing. Why don't we just literally give it to a class of preschoolers and let them talk it out? Because I bet they'd be more logical.
They would probably get,
You have the teacher, you say, okay, well, we can do this and this will happen. We can do this and this will happen. What do you think, kids? And they'd be like, this should happen because more people will be happy. You know what I mean? Like, they'll approach it better.
Of course, they've also, are mastering the, play fair and don't steal from others, which I don't think our government has really mastered.
Nope.
Well, they're constantly, all of the bills and stuff, they have there's constant crap that's in them.
They keep adding things to bills.
The fact that we have a whole rule of filibustering, so you can just get up there and talk to get people distracted, so they'll just be like, well, fine, we won't vote for it if you just shut up and leave. Yeah. How is that a thing? That's like a legal form. Ugh.
Need to get rid of that.
Drive me nuts.
Get down to business. Stop wasting our money.
Well, I've heard it several times, and I'll say it again. Like, the people who want to become politicians are not the people you want to be politicians.
That is true.
Because the kind of personality that is attracted to that type of power is not somebody who has anyone's best interest at heart.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, we'd have a better system if you had to call. It was like a call to service style, where like we did a draft, or like a we're like a draft, like you would for a war. Only okay, your birthday comes up the TV. Now you have to serve 6 months in Senate, or now you have to become a state representative for a year, because your number,
jury style.
Yeah, because your number was called. Now you're welcome to write us a letter and try to convince us why you don't qualify. but we say whether or not you have to serve. And unless you have a legitimate reason, sorry.
I say for the reason that, like, if they get letters from people saying why they should not be a representative, you get those people to be a representative.
Yeah, if anyone's like, I'm excited, I'll be there Tuesday. Ooh, boy. You're really enthused about this. Like people who really want to get weapons when they sign up for military service. You're like, you're too excited about shooting guns. I don't know if we want you.
You're going to work the radio.
Yeah, we'll put you in an office job where you don't get any... Yeah.
I think you still get a gun.
Oh, probably.
I think when you hit a certain point in the military, they just...
It's like,
okay.
the police force, you work behind a desk, but you still got one.
Still have a gun.
Yeah.
Because we love our guns.
Yes, we do.
Guns. Because those are less regulated than marijuana.
It's true.
Oh, boy.
Anyone can get a gun.
Yeah, maybe instead of giving guns to you're making guns available, we should be giving, marijuana to bullied high school students who want to
There you go.
kill their class. Maybe that'll calm down a little bit.
Yeah. I'll smoke them
Come
down.
to the office if you're feeling stressed today. You can get a bump.
Right? You go to like the nurse and the
I'd be a
office
school
nurse.
if that were the case.
Requirement if someone's bullying someone else.
Well,
you're
they
like,
used
you're
to-
going to go to the counseling office. No.
They used to give people like
I don't want to be chill.
like not smallpox. They used to give people like at school, like nurses at schools who I don't think were medically trained used to be able to give shots to kids.
Yeah,
so.
they used to do immunizations at schools.
Yeah, the giant long ass needles, and you just
Oh, fun fact. It's nothing to do with weed, but when I was researching, I was researching prohibition. Did you know that the health department in a number of states controlled alcohol for about 50 years after prohibition?
Really?
Yeah, a bunch of states were like, well, we don't, because essentially when they took prohibition off the books, they just passed a law that was like, no more prohibition. They didn't regulate alcohol usage or anything like that. Like there wasn't, so a bunch of states were like, well, I guess we have to do this. So they made it like, they regulated it like a medical thing where you have to go to the health department and like get a license. And a lot of states still have like technically state-run liquor places.
Wow.
So
Wow.
you can't privatize it in certain states.
So the reason you can't just like sell like a 6-pack out of the trunk of your car.
Well, it's the reason you have like Sunday laws, certain places and stuff.
Oh,
because
booze o'clock.
Booze o'clock.
We used to joke when my parents had the store open that because you couldn't sell beer before noon on Sundays, that noon would hit and you
2 a.m. to noon or something like
yeah
that.
you and so noon would hit and you'd get an influx of people at booze o'clock.
Yeah.
Buying their beer for the day for their daily cookout or to drink alone while they watched sports, whatever they did. I'm not judging, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
booze o'clock.
Owning a small store really makes you aware of the number of alcoholics in your community.
It's true. It's
Like,
true.
you get
And
really like, oh, these people seem really nice when I see them, but they're in here 6 times a day buying,
Buying alcohol.
and imagine be like the
2
same of
liter.
like owning a bar or something, and you see
Yeah.
the regulars. It's like no, those people,
Yeah, I guess they're always drunk when I see them outside of here. Cool.
Explains why their kids are just always running around in diapers.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Or the
I'm
ones
pretty sure that 7-year-old should have been, potty trained by now.
it's kind of funny because there's like certain things that we've talked about this on episodes, like certain things like from your childhood that you just like don't think about until like later on. And one of them was there would be multiple people that would come into our store who just reeked of beer, but I didn't realize that's what that smell was.
Yeah.
It was just that kind of, that's an adult man smell, like a Old Spice or something kind of a smell.
It's an interesting cologne.
Because there were certain men who would come in and they would just always smell like it. Now looking back, it was like because that was like sweating out of their pores because they were all they drank was beer.
The twitchy ones where you're like, oh, they're going through withdrawals when
Yeah.
they're buying this.
Yeah, or like
I
you
didn't
look
realize
now,
that.
and you're like,
Okay.
they were drunk as fuck, but you
Yeah.
like, I didn't know what that was. I just thought they were kind of like, that kind of like a personality or whatever.
We used to have a neighbor that would come and buy, and he lived down the road.
Yeah.
And he was on a number of pills as well, and he would like pass out in the side yard.
Yeah.
And you, I remember Mom and Dad would kind of have to like go out and be like, "Hey, come on, wake up, wake up."
Yeah,
we
and
gotta
we owned a
and
store.
like take him back to his house.
Yeah, and then, for anyone who's not aware, our store was not in like a city.
No.
We were in the middle of nowhere.
We were in the middle.
Little
It-
itty bitty town.
It was only
Yeah.
there because the train used to run through, so it was a stop on the train that would go from Albion to Springport, and like they used to do back in the day, little tiny, because people would take the train to go from town to town.
Yeah.
And so it was the only reason we're even there is because it was a little tiny step off of the... So it wasn't like a downtown where there's like homeless people. No, it was like people who lived nearby who would come get their booze. And it was always funny because you'd see people in various types of vehicles because you couldn't always drive. So you'd see adults on bicycles. We knew people that would buy golf carts for their homes just so they could make beer runs and wouldn't get arrested.
Yep, we had like lawnmowers and tractors. And...
Yep, people would ride their tractor down, get their beer, ride back. Just a country thing. But the same thing, and this kind of brings it back around to weed, and I don't know if I've said this on the podcast, and I don't mean to... It's going to come out anyway. So the smell of pot, I had no idea that's what the smell was, because for years... I associated that smell with my brother because that's how his room smelled, and
he would never ventilate anything.
No, and it would be such a strong stench. And again, I didn't know what it was because I would have been a young kid, and so I thought, that was just like a teenage boy smell. And then,
did your parents never smoke marijuana? They had to have in the
They didn't 60s. Smoke around us, so it wasn't ever, and they didn't care that John smoked. They
both were in college in the early 70s, and so it was that time where everyone who, and unless you were like...
Dad used to go on
camping trips
with his college buddies.
Yeah. And, it was essentially their excuse to, go sleep outside and smoke in the woods. And, Mom, I remember, was it you or Mom? Someone told me a story about how when we were babies, and his friends would visit, they would smoke in the back porch, and Mom would be like, "You're a father now, stop doing that."
Of my birth is, Mom was like, "I'm going to have a baby," and I'm, the second, so she was like, "I'm going to have a baby, I'm going to go get packed, I'm going to take a shower, and then we can go to the hospital." And someone came over and was hanging out with my dad, and they were smoking in the backyard, building the deck or something.
Yeah.
And my mom came down, and she's like, "I'm in labor now." And the friend was like, "Oh my God!" And Dad was like, "Cool, let's ride to the hospital." So he was stoned. Yeah.
Well, we always had the benefit of most of us were born either on a holiday or on a Sunday, so the store wasn't open.
Yeah.
And if the store wasn't open, you know what I mean? You do what you want to do. But yeah, I associated that smell so much with my brother that I had no idea until I was older and in college, and I smelled it for the first time, and I was like, "Oh!" And it was all these visions flooded back into my brain. I'm like, "Oh my God, that's what the smell was!" And that all those times were my mom would go to clean up my brother's room or grab laundry, and she would just straighten around all of his paraphernalia that he would just leave out. And so, but again, it's because they were ex-hippie type of people, so they
the whole
understood and they didn't really care that much.
The whole drug conversation I had with Mom, and again, my dad isn't confrontational in the slightest, so I've never talked to him, was, just do it in the house.
Yeah.
That was it.
Which is interesting because...
Just do it in the house.
Because neither of them were ever really drinkers.
No.
Mom doesn't like to drink, and Dad will occasionally drink a beer. If we went on a vacation...
do eggnog and stuff.
Occasionally, if we go out to dinner or something when we were on a vacation, he would get a beer at a restaurant. But they were never drinkers, and so that was never really something was ever a thing in our house. But yet their view of marijuana, I think, is one of the reasons why none of us as adults are real big drinkers. But we have a very laxed view on marijuana in that sense, because that was more of a...
I guess I can get that thing. The thought if you're gonna do it, I'd rather you do it.
Yeah. Which I've heard people's parents tell them that about drinking.
Yeah.
Well, if you're gonna do it here, because then I know you're safe.
Yeah. Well, they're also very much if you're gonna drink at home, and all of us are we don't really like drinking.
Yeah.
We tried it, and none of us are really So.
But and then it's also, I think Mom appreciated that because of the social interaction John received when he went and got pot from his dealer.
Yeah,
because it was his time to he would go out for an hour and hang out with people, and then
our brother's special. Weed is like the most normal thing he does. So
yeah,
you gotta,
I can only imagine how he would be if he didn't.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like if you know,
ironically, he'd probably be in jail,
right? Like if you know someone who is a heavy smoker, and you don't necessarily you're well, why do they rely on it so much? Just think about how high strung they would be if they didn't smoke. You know what I mean? And even if they don't do it for the high, they do it for the pain management and stuff. It's just think about how worse their situation would be if they didn't medicate in that way. You know what I mean? they'd have to either they wouldn't have anything or they'd have a bunch of pills in their system, which I think is worse personally, because you can tell the difference between someone who's high and someone who's pilled out.
Yeah.
So.
Definitely. Well, yeah, I just kind of found out that Elizabeth vapes the CBD oil, and it helps with her like weird tick thing that she
The tick that she refuses to go to the doctor for.
Yes, I know.
I'm not saying that she can't self-medicate. I'm absolutely fine if she wants to do that. However, she should at least go to the doctor to figure out what it is first.
We've had family nurses look at her.
We had someone who went to veterinary school.
So that's the thing about like country people though, is that we will not go to a doctor until like our foot falls off.
Pay the premium.
Like it's fine. It's black and it's
I gotta
smelling.
pay.
It's
I
fine.
gotta pay the copay at the hospital plus the bill when it comes. No, thank you.
Yeah.
I'd rather die and pay for a funeral than pay for pay a hospital bill.
You gotta dig up the can of money in the backyard to go here.
Yeah, literally no.
Saving
like
that for
at the Christmas party, I finally like she did her little Twitch thing in front of me, and I said, "God damn it!" So I went to my cousin Amy. I was like, "Amy, come here. You're a nurse.
Yeah.
What the hell is this Twitch?" And she kind of like looked at her and talked to her. She's like, "Oh, it's my me neural or something like that." And still, Elizabeth did nothing about it.
Right, and I'm not saying if it's not causing her like any like pain or anything, but still, it's like if it's a sign of something that
if it's a symptom,
could be a
that could be
progress
an
like a
issue.
bigger problem.
Love you,
And
Liz. Go to the damn doctor.
let's face it, no one's body gets better as they age. You know what I mean? Like it might.
I don't know. I have an Uncle Bob.
Yeah.
He's 93. He looks like friggin' Chuck Norris. He's buff and just like so in shape, and
Okay.
so I don't know how he started, but
Yeah.
he's definitely in shape now.
Right.
that freaks me out when old people are in better shape than me.
I know.
I feel like I'm failing at life.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
Like, oh. But they got to work out and eat and stuff. I don't. Not
They spend
interested
too
in
much.
any
They
of that.
spend. They spend
I got
all.
hobbies. I
They
don't
spent the
need
last
that.
40 years of their life managing everything that goes in and into their body, and I
Yeah.
don't know if I have that type of discipline.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
when you're
anytime I-
retired, you
yeah.
gotta have some kind of hobby.
Anytime I talk to people that are super healthy, it's always like, oh, I cut sugar and I cut trans fat
No,
and I
you'll
did
be
this,
fine.
and I'm like,
After-
oh God, why are you
after-
still alive?
They're like, no, after 2 months of feeling like you're going to die every day, your body purges it and you don't even miss it. Mm-hmm. Whatever.
I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast, and he had Kevin Smith on.
Uh-huh.
They were talking about right after
He had a heart attack.
after he had a heart attack, and he got on a diet and stuff like
Which
that.
he had already lost a bunch of weight before he had the heart attack. Mm-hmm. Like, because when he had that thing of the airplane issue where they kicked him off because he couldn't fit in the seat or whatever, and he had that big blow up or whatever, bad term to use about airplanes. But anyway, he lost, a bunch of weight and still had heart problems.
But like he went on this diet where it's called sides only or only sides, and you literally start out eating just a potato or potatoes,
Like the side dishes on things?
yeah, but like it has to be very plain.
Yeah.
So like you can bake a potato, but you can't put butter on it. You can't put milk or sour cream or bacon or anything like that. And he's like, I used to really like potatoes. Now I hate them.
Yeah, I imagine
Makes
it
you
really-
hate all the food you love,
Yeah.
and that's how you get
Well, I
skinny.
get that, and there's that whole don't live to eat to live thing, and I'm like, I understand there's a common ground there where you can sacrifice some things, but at the same time, there's too much joy I receive out of eating good food, and like I enjoy like the taste of food too much to give up a taste of food.
Yes.
Now, if you tell me you only eat cake 3 times a year, okay, I can do that if it means I can fucking put salt on things occasionally. You know what I mean? Like, stop trying to.
Oh, I would miss salt so much.
I can't give it all up because then I look at eating as a chore, and I don't like that idea.
Yeah.
Plus, we live so. Even if you're not the healthiest person, we live so long anyway. You know what I mean? At this point, if I make it to my 70s, I'm fine.
You're really just cutting out the old years.
the suffering years.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Unless it's the medical marijuana years.
Yeah.
Spread it all back around.
Back around.
There you go.
For the cataracts and whatnot.
Your glaucoma.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Well, that was very informative.
Yeah.
You almost think
was.
we were, knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
Hey, this was heavily researched by a variety of online sites
Yeah.
and other people I talked to randomly on the street.
Dankweed.com gave me half of my information.
No, but the first on the
High
Google
times.
search, the very first one, which is like cannabis.com came up as being blacklisted. Like I couldn't go to it because it was
Really?
it was like virus, and I was like, but it's the first one. How did this work?
Yeah. And another way they're
Conspiracy
trying.
McAfee.
Yep.
Final thoughts? Yay or nay?
I say yay.
Yeah, I'm pro recreational.
Yay all the
legalization.
way, May.
Me too.
Swap it,
Legalize
take rid of some of the crap we got and
Yeah.
replace it. You know what
Tax
I mean?
it, fix the damn roads, and then
Right?
the rest can go to the school system.
Yeah. Yeah, if we could take money from that to public schools and libraries and all public service,
Free energy research.
Yep.
Do it.
I say put it all in the city square and not everyone run around and get stoned. We'd
There
all
you
be a
go.
better society. Couldn't make us worse, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, just pump it into the air.
To replace, I was gonna say replace the fluoride in the water with it,
Probably way chiller. I mean,
right?
Yeah, you won't care about cavities at that point.
Yeah.
You're
Like,
like, "Eh."
whatever. Teeth come and go. You're like, only once, really. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us, Jeannie.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
And
Donka
bitches.
bitches.
Thanks for listening to Podcrashed. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Podcrashed Podcast. You can also check out our website at www.podcrashed.wordpress.com. Email us at podcrashed@gmail.com. We promise to answer your questions. Theme song is by Creo. New episodes come out on Tuesdays. And as always, Donka bitches.